Recording. Okay. So, after we did our warm-up, we took a look at our homework, and those are posted on the notes online. And now we'll look at these problems in your workbook on page 54. All right. Angle 1 and angle, the angle represented by 4x, or what kind of angles?
Those are, yeah.
Good. Alternate interior angles. And what do we know about alternate interior angles when we have parallel lines? They are congruent. Okay? So, we know that the measure of angle 1, which is 68, has to equal 4x, so x is 17. Any questions? Let's move on. All right. Now, this one, the roads are parallel. So, if these two, A and B, are parallel, then we know that these two angles must be congruent. Why? What are they? How would you classify them?
Alternate exterior.
Good. Alternate exterior angles. And they are also congruent. Okay, so we've said that, is that x plus 40 equal to 2x minus 22? I couldn't sit back here. I can't read. So 68 equals x. Is that my answer?
No.
No. Good.
I guess.
On the EOCT, they might have 68 listed as the answer, but it's not the answer. They didn't ask us for x. They asked us for the measure of PQR. Please make sure we read. We know what we're looking for. So we plug 68 in. We get 2 times 68. That's 62. It's not 68. It's 62. Thank you. Minus 22.
So it wouldn't be 68 if 68 was one of the answers.
You're right. So this is 124 minus 22. So my answer is
102.
And 2. So the measure of angle PQR is equivalent to 102 degrees. How'd you do?
I didn't do.
Okay. Let's move on. Oh. So you know it's D because I left the answer there.
Yep, I knew.
Because these are corresponding, they're in the same position. Did you get tricked up by all this extra stuff you didn't need? Good. Well, yes, if the answer was no.
Yep. No, this is just classwork.
Okay, new stuff. New stuff is not really new stuff because we talked about it yesterday. But today we're actually going to apply it. We talked about the converse of the corresponding angle postulate. So we can prove parallel lines if we can show that corresponding angles are congruent. We can prove parallel lines if we can show that, what other types of angles?
Alternate interior.
Alternate interior are congruent, or alternate exterior are congruent, or we have a fourth option, but it's not about congruence. Same side are
Linear.
supplementary. Same side or supplementary. All right. So let's start with this one. This one's talking about corresponding. This is out of your textbook, but you can just look along with me. All right. So it said yes.
What does supplementary mean?
Adds up to 180 degrees.
Yeah,
Supplementary means adds up to 180 degrees. All right. It tells us that angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, and we can tell those are what kind of angles?
No, they're congruent.
How would we label them?
Same side.
Corresponding.
Corresponding. Look at here. Just like the title. Those are corresponding. Angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. So we know that angle 1 is it tells us angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, and those are corresponding angles. So because we know we have corresponding angles that are congruent, what must be true?
L is parallel to M.
L is parallel to M by the converse of the congruent angles postulate. What does converse mean?
The opposite.
Right. Converse switches the hypothesis and conclusion. So our regular postulate says if two parallel lines cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles are congruent. This says if corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So we're switching the hypothesis and conclusion part. All right. The next problem. Angle into this one, so we have 3 times 65, which is 195, right? And 195 minus 55 is 140.
Wow.
Did we show congruence?
Yes.
Yes, and that's what it's going to walk us through here. So, when we plug it in, we get 140 and 140, so the measure of angle 4 is equal to the measure of angle 8. Because we showed it here, that would be the transitive property. So if their measures are equal, then they have to be congruent, right? Isn't that definition of congruence?
Yes.
All right, and then the final step says that L is parallel to N, and that's the converse of the corresponding angle postulate. So I proved corresponding angles were congruent, therefore I proved the lines are parallel. Okay?
Okay. Bueno.
Next one. Here's a new drawing, and this time we're taking a look at angles 2 and 6. They are congruent. There's 2, there's 6. What kind of angles are those, guys? Alternate interior angles. So let's see. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 6, and angle 2 and angle 6 are alternate interior angles. Therefore, R is parallel to S by the converse of alternate interior angle theorem.
So whatever the angles are, it's going to be converse.
Yeah, if we're proving parallel. Yes, Andrew?
Do you have to memorize these?
Yes.
You need to understand it.
I mean, it's really not that difficult, but if you want to think of it that way.
Okay. So let's take a look at the next one. On the next one, they give us angles 6 and angle 7. So let's look at those. 6 and 7. What kind of angles are those? Same side interior. So what's my last line going to be? Converse of the same side interior angle here. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is take those and plug in x, and you get 78 and 102. Why is that good?
Because those are supplementary.
Because they are supplementary. So we're going to show that when we add up angle 6 and angle 7, we get 180 degrees, which tells us that angle 6 and angle 7 are same side interior angles. And they are supplementary, therefore the converse of the same side interior angle theorem works. Because these same side interior were supplementary, we can do the converse of the same side interior angle theorem. Got it?
Yes.
That actually makes sense.
Alright, so let's take a look at this one. Mark what they tell us. L is parallel to M. Oh, it's already marked. Good. And angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Okay, so we know that must be true. Now, first thing they do in our proof is tell us L is parallel to M. What's the reason?
Given.
Good. Okay, the next thing, angle 1 is congruent to angle 2
Corresponding.
because
Same side
corresponding angles are congruent.
Wait, was this?
Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 was given. Okay, so if 1 is congruent to 2 and 1 is congruent to 3,
It's a square.
then 2 must be congruent to
property.
good transitive property.
Nice, Evan.
And so if 2 is congruent to 3, then we also know that these two are parallel. Why?
The converse of alternate exterior angles.
Of alternate exterior angles. The converse of the alternate exterior angles. Good job, guys.
Wait, which one? Wait, okay, I got it.
Okay. Woo! Okay. Yep, there were answers, weren't they? Okay, let's take a look at these 3.
Can they stay there for a little bit?
You good?
Yeah.
Alright. So let's look at number 1.
Where you choose.
Matt, what kind of angles are these that you're given?
In me or the other Matt?
We'll go with you.
Alright, sweet. Say what angles again?
The 2 angles that are given.
Those are alternate interior angles.
Okay. And so, what value of A guarantees that R is parallel to S? Well, if these are alternate interior angles, they must be equal. Their measures must be equal so that they are congruent. So we just set this one equal to this one and solve for A. So we get 2A equals 45 and A equals 22.5. Got it?
But how do we know, like, that R and S are parallel?
guarantees they are parallel. So we solve for the value of A that would make the measure of this equal to the measure of that. Therefore, those angles would be congruent. And if alternate interior angles are congruent, by the converse of the alternate interior angle theorem, we have proven that the two lines are congruent. Okay, number 2, we'll go with solver this time. What kind of angles are these?
I know it. Not really.
They
Same side interior.
Yes, they are. Same side, interior. Okay, so, Sabrina, same side interior would be what? What do we know about same side interiors?
They equal 180.
supplementary.
They equal 180. So is that 9A? I can't see anything.
Yes.
Okay, 9A minus 8 plus 5A plus 6 equals 180. So 14A equals 182. And then A equals 13. Right?
That's good math.
She's not 2 years old. Andrew.
I'm just.
All right, number 3. Kyle, which expression is extraneous? Does not help us solve this problem at all.
5A minus 1.
Good. Ignore it. It's not helpful. It doesn't help us proving these two lines are parallel. What we do need are these two, and corresponding angles must be what? Congruent, the same. So we'd say 3A plus 14 is equal to 4A minus 8, so A equals 22. Okay? Now, you have quite a few problems to practice for homework. But before we start our homework, we're going to have more practice with constructions.
Yes.
All right, I want a parallel line through a point P that is off the line. I want you to draw a line segment and then bisect it, and draw an angle and then bisect that. Go.
But how?
Oh, right now?
Yeah, right now.
I didn't
On
understand
note
how
paper.
to do the parallel line. What?
There's kind of a parallel line right here.
Sure.
And then can I just bisect that line?
Sure.
I got it.
Okay, for those of you that are watching the video, after we do this, we're going to do a perpendicular through a given point, and then we're going to do a perpendicular line through a point that is actually on the line. So a point off the line and a point on the line, and we're good. Your homework is this right here. So for those of you that were in class today, this homework assignment is what I expect to be done tomorrow.
Like Ryan.
Great.
Hey Ryan. Even though you're not gonna watch this.
Yeah, Miss Wilby, you should always say something at the end of your videos just to make sure that they watch it.
You need to be like, write down this